The dinner rush at Luminaire hits like a wave at 7:15, and I'm already 3 tables behind. My hands move on autopilot, clearing plates, refilling water glasses, smiling with my eyes since my mouth can't form the words customers expect. The notepad pressed against my palm is damp with condensation from the water pitcher, and my feet ache in the non-slip shoes that are 2 months past needing replacement. I can't afford new ones yet. Not with Mia's tuition payment due next week. Table 12 needs their check. I can see the woman's lips forming the words even from across the dining room. Where is our waitress? This is ridiculous. Her companion, a man in a suit that probably costs more than my monthly rent, nods in agreement. I weave through the crowded space, my black apron pocket heavy with pens and the small laminated card I hand to new customers. I'm deaf and cannot speak. I read lips fluently. Please face me when ordering. Thank you for your patience. Most people are kind. Some are curious. A few are uncomfortable, their eyes darting away as if disability might be contagious. And then there are the ones like the woman at table 7. I notice her the moment I approach with their appetizers, Luminaire's signature burrata with heirloom tomatoes and aged balsamic. She's perhaps 40, with the kind of polished beauty that comes from expensive procedures and personal trainers. Her honey blonde hair is styled in waves that look effortless but probably took an hour to achieve. Diamonds glitter at her throat and wrists, catching the soft lighting of the restaurant's crystal chandeliers. She's sitting with 3 other women, all cut from the same cloth, designer dresses, luxury handbags hanging from chair backs, wine glasses already half empty, despite having been seated for less than 10 minutes. I set the first plate down carefully, making sure the burrata is positioned just so, the way our chef insists. The woman doesn't look at me. Her lips are moving rapidly, and I catch fragments. Absolutely tragic about the Bon Castellano merger. Heard his wife is leaving him. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. I move to place the second appetizer when the blonde woman's hand shoots out, gripping my wrist with surprising strength. Her perfectly manicured nails, French tips, recently done, dig into my skin just slightly. Not enough to hurt, but enough to assert dominance. "Excuse me," she says, her lips over-enunciating in that way people do when they think volume equals comprehension. "This is supposed to have truffle oil." I don't see any truffle oil. I glance at the plate. There's a delicate drizzle of truffle oil across the burrata, exactly as specified. I point to it, trying to keep my expression pleasant and professional. Her eyes narrow. "Are you stupid? I asked you a question." My stomach clenches. I reach for my notepad, but before I can write anything, she's speaking again. "Oh my God." She looks at her companions with theatrical disbelief. She can't even talk. Why would they hire someone like this for a restaurant of this caliber? How are we supposed to communicate? Heat floods my cheeks. The other women are staring now, some with pity, others with the same disdain as their friend. I pull out my laminated card, holding it where she can see it, but she waves it away dismissively. "I can read just fine, thank you. What I need is a waitress who can actually speak. Go get me someone competent." The word competent hits like a slap. I've worked at Luminaire for 2 years, have stellar reviews from management, regularly receive compliments from customers. But in this moment, in front of this woman's cold blue eyes, I feel every inch the inadequate, broken thing she sees. I nod once and turn to leave, my vision blurring slightly. I will not cry. Not here. Not in front of the entire dining room. But as I take a step away, her voice carries intentionally loud, meant to be heard. Honestly, it's like hiring a mute is some kind of charity case. This is Manhattan, not a social services program. Her friends laugh. Not uncomfortable titters, but genuine amusement, as if my inability to speak is the punchline to a joke. My hands tremble as I walk toward the kitchen, my notepad clutched so tightly the spiral binding digs into my palm. I can feel eyes on me, other servers, other diners. Some look sympathetic. Others quickly look away, embarrassed for me or perhaps embarrassed to be associated with the scene. I push through the swinging kitchen door and immediately collide with someone solid. Strong hands grip my shoulders, steadying me. I look up into the face of Marcus, Luminaire's general manager. He's in his 50s, with kind eyes and graying temples, and right now he's frowning with concern. "Whoa, Arya. You okay?" His lips form the words clearly, the way he's learned to do since I started here. I shake my head, then pull out my phone, typing quickly. Table 7. Woman wants different server. Called me incompetent. Made scene. Marcus's frown deepens as he reads. He's about to respond when the kitchen door swings open again, and the head server, Jasmine, pokes her head in. Marcus, we have a faultler situation. Table 7 is demanding to speak with you. And she pauses, her dark eyes flicking to me with worry. Mr. Constantine is in the private dining room. He's asking why there's a commotion in the main dining area. The blood drains from Marcus's face at the mention of that name. Constantine? I don't know much about him except that he's a VIP who uses Luminaire's private dining room several times a month, always with the same group of severe-looking men in expensive suits. He tips extravagantly and values discretion and silence above all else. Shit, Marcus mutters then, catches himself. Okay, Arya, take 5 in the back. Jasmine, cover her tables. I'll handle table 7 and apologize to Mr. Constantine. I want to argue, to insist I can finish my shift, but the truth is, I'm shaking too hard to hold a tray steady. I nod and head toward the small break room at the back of the kitchen, past the line cooks who are too busy with orders to notice my distress. The break room is barely more than a closet with a bench, a row of lockers, and a bulletin board covered in schedules and health code reminders. I sink onto the bench, finally allowing myself to feel the full weight of the humiliation. It's not the first time I've been treated like this. In the 2 years since the attack that stole my voice, I've encountered plenty of people who see my disability as a flaw, an inconvenience, proof of weakness, but it never stops hurting. My throat, what's left of it after the surgeries, tightens with the phantom sensation of screaming. Of course I can't scream. The scar tissue where my ex-boyfriend's hands crushed my larynx makes sure of that. 3 surgeries, 6 months of recovery, and the final verdict from doctors, permanent damage to the vocal cords. I would never speak again. I pull out my phone, needing to ground myself in something real, something that matters. There's a text from Mia, my 20-year-old sister. Got an A on my psych exam. Coffee this weekend to celebrate? I smile despite everything. Mia is the reason I endure nights like this. She's a junior at NYU, brilliant and kind, with dreams of becoming a therapist. Our parents died in a car accident when I was 19 and she was 12. I've been her guardian, her provider, her protector ever since. The restaurant job pays for her tuition, her textbooks, her tiny dorm room. In Manhattan, my own studio apartment in Queens is a 30-minute subway ride away, barely big enough for a bed and a kitchenette. But it's mine. It's safe. No one can hurt me there. I'm typing a response to Mia when the break room door opens. I look up, expecting Marcus or Jasmine. Instead, I find myself staring at a man I've never seen before. He's tall, over 6 feet easily, with dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble, sharp cheekbones, a strong jaw shadowed with precisely maintained stubble, and eyes so dark they're almost black. He's wearing a suit that makes every other suit in the restaurant look like a costume charcoal gray, perfectly tailored, with a black shirt underneath, no tie. There's something about him that makes the small break room feel even smaller. An intensity. A presence that fills the space like pressure before a storm. And he's looking directly at me. For a moment, neither of us moves. I'm frozen on the bench, phone still in my hand, very aware that I'm alone in a back room with a stranger who definitely doesn't belong here. His lips move, forming words slowly, deliberately, as if he already knows I need to read them. Are you Arya? The fateful encounter. My heart hammers against my ribs as I nod slowly, trying to figure out who this man is and why he knows my name. He doesn't look like a customer, though his suit suggests wealth. There's something harder about him, something in the way he holds himself, balanced, ready, dangerous. He takes a step closer, and I resist the urge to stand and back away. Instead, I straighten my spine, meeting his gaze with more confidence than I feel. I've learned that predators, whether they're abusive ex-boyfriends or entitled customers, can smell fear. I'm Nikolai Constantine, he says, and my stomach drops. The VIP from the private dining room. The man Marcus was terrified of disturbing. And he's here, in the break room, looking at me with an expression I can't quite read. I reach for my notepad, hands trembling slightly, and write, I'm sorry for the disturbance. It won't happen again. He glances at the words, then back at my face. You're apologizing? His accent is slight, something Eastern European underneath perfectly American English. You weren't the one who caused the disturbance. I hesitate, uncertain what he wants me to say, what he wants from me. He moves closer still, close enough that I can smell his cologne, something dark and expensive, cedar and bergamot with an underlying sharpness like gunpowder, close enough that I have to tilt my head back to maintain eye contact. "The woman at table 7, he continues, his voice low and controlled. "She humiliated you in front of the entire restaurant." It's not a question, so I don't respond. I just watch his lips, trying to understand where this is going. I heard what she said. Every word. His jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. "Tell me something, Arya. Do. You know who that woman is?" I shake my head. "Katerina Volkov. She's married to Dmitry Volkov, who runs a significant portion of the Russian operations in Brooklyn." He pauses, studying my reaction. "She's also in my dining room every other week, sitting with her husband, discussing business. I would prefer remain private." My breath catches. Russian operations, private business. The implication is clear even if he's not stating it explicitly. This isn't about restaurant management or customer service complaints. "I also noticed," he continues, his dark eyes never leaving mine, "that you were watching her table quite intently before the incident. You were reading her lips." Ice floods my veins. Of course I was reading her lips. I read everyone's lips. It's how I understand the world around me. But in that moment, with his gaze boring into mine, I realize what he's really asking. What did I see? I swallow hard and write quickly. I read lips to communicate. It's automatic. I don't eavesdrop. "I didn't say you were eavesdropping." His tone is mild, but there's steel underneath. "I said you were reading her lips. There's a difference." He reaches out, and I flinch. Instinctively, before I can stop myself, something flickers across his face. Surprise, maybe, or recognition. But he only takes the notepad gently from my hands. "I'm not going to hurt you," he says slowly, deliberately, making sure I see every word. "But I am going to ask you a question, and I need you to answer honestly." I nod, my mouth dry. "What did Katerina Volkov say before she humiliated you? During the time you were at her table?" My mind races back to those few minutes. The blonde woman's lips moving rapidly as she spoke to her companions. I'd been focused on serving the food, but yes, I'd caught fragments. Something about a merger. Someone's wife leaving them. Castellano, that was the name she'd used. I reach for my notepad, but Nikolai hasn't returned it yet. Instead, he hands me his phone, a sleek black device with a screen that's unlocked to a notes app. I type, carefully. "She mentioned a Castellano merger. Said someone's wife was leaving him." That's all I caught. He reads it, his expression unchanging. Then he types a response and shows me, "The Castellano family controls shipping on the East Coast. If there's a merger, it means territory is changing. Hands. And if someone's wife is leaving, it's leverage." I stare at the words, understanding dawning with cold clarity. This isn't just about business. This is about power, territory, the kind of things that get people hurt or killed. I type quickly. "I don't want any trouble. I just want to work. I need this job." Nikolai studies me for a long moment, his dark eyes searching my face as if looking for something specific. Then he nods, almost to himself. "You'll keep your job," he says. "In fact, I'm going to ensure you're very well compensated. But first, I need you to do something for me." Every instinct screams at me to refuse, to run, to get as far from this man and his dangerous world as possible. But Mia's tuition is due in a week. My rent is already late, and something in Nikolai Konstantin's eyes tells me that saying no isn't really an option. I type, "What do you need?" "Come with me to the private dining room," he says. "Stand in the corner, like any other server. Watch my guests, read their lips, and later, you'll tell me everything they said that I couldn't hear." My hands shake as I type. "That's spying." "That's survival," he corrects. "Mine and yours, Katerina. Volkov will be in this restaurant again next week. If she knows you overheard something sensitive, if she even suspects it, you become a liability. And liabilities in my world don't stay liabilities for long. The threat is implicit but clear. I've seen too much, heard too much, understood too much. I can either be useful to him, or I can be a problem that needs solving. I think of Mia, of her bright smile and her dreams of helping people. I think of the small apartment in Queens that represents safety and independence. I think of everything I've survived to get here, the abuse, the attack, the long recovery, the struggle to rebuild a life from nothing, and I realize I'll do whatever it takes to protect it. I nod. Nikolai's expression softens almost imperceptibly. He hands me back my notepad and extends his other hand toward me, palm up. An offering, not a command. Then let's go, he says. And Arya, after tonight, Katerina Volkov will never humiliate you again. I promise you that. The recognition, the walk from the break room to the private dining area feels like crossing into a different world. Nikolai moves through the kitchen with the confidence of someone who owns the space, though I know he doesn't, at least not officially. The line cooks glance up, then immediately look away. The sous chef straightens his posture as we pass. Even Chef Laurent, who terrorizes his staff with equal opportunity fury, gives a respectful nod. Everyone here knows who Nikolai Konstantin is. Everyone here fears him. Except me. I should fear him, but instead I feel something else. A strange, electric awareness that makes my skin prickle and my pulse quicken. Maybe it's adrenaline. Maybe it's the recognition that my life just changed in ways I can't yet comprehend. We reach the door to the private dining room, and Nikolai pauses, turning to face me. His hand is still at the small of my back, a touch that feels both protective and possessive. The men inside are dangerous, he says, his lips forming each word with careful precision. They're not as crude as Katerina Volkov, but they're far more lethal. Don't make eye contact unless they address you directly. Don't react to anything you hear, no matter how shocking. Can you do that? I nod, though my heart is racing. Good. He pushes open the door, and we step inside. The private dining room is dimly lit, all dark wood paneling and leather upholstery, with a single long table dominating the space. 6 men sit around it, ranging in age from perhaps 35 to 60. They're all wearing suits, all holding glasses of what looks like very expensive scotch, and all radiating the same aura of controlled violence. The conversation stops the moment we enter. Gentlemen, Nikolai says smoothly in English, guiding me to a position along the wall near the corner. This is Arya. She'll be serving us tonight. One of the younger men, dark hair, cold blue eyes, a scar running from his temple to his jaw, looks me up and down with undisguised interest. Since when do you allow women in the room during business, Nick? Since I decided to, Nikolai replies, his tone brooking no argument. Continue. He takes his seat at the head of the table, leaving me standing against the wall with a perfect view of every face, every pair of lips. A water pitcher sits on the sideboard next to me. I pour fresh glasses for each man, moving silently, professionally, trying to blend into the background. But I'm watching, and I'm reading. Shipment arrives Thursday. The man with the scar is saying, 3 containers, hidden in the agricultural cargo. And the customs contact? This from an older man with silver hair and a heavy gold watch. Paid in full. No issues expected. Nikolai swirls his scotch, his expression thoughtful. The Volkovs? Making noise about territory, says a third man, younger, with nervous energy evident in his tapping fingers. Dmitri thinks the docks should be his. Dmitri thinks a lot of things, Nikolai says mildly. Most of them are wrong. The men chuckle. But there's an edge to it. Fear masquerading as camaraderie. There's something else, the scarred man says, leaning forward. Our contact at the Castellano organization says there's talk of a merger. Internal restructuring. Someone high up is being pushed out. My pulse spikes. The Castellanos, the same family Katerina Volkov mentioned at table 7, pushed out or eliminated. Nikolai asks. Unclear, but his wife filed for divorce last week. Usually that means he's lost protection. Or he's about to disappear, adds the silver-haired man grimly. Nikolai's fingers drum once against his glass, a small gesture. But I sense the calculation behind it. If the Castellanos are weak, Volkov will move to fill the vacuum. We need to know who's taking over before they make their play. Agreed. I have someone working on it. The conversation shifts to other matters. Money laundering through real estate. The logistics of moving merchandise through the port of New York. Disputes with the Albanian crew in Queens. Each piece of information is a puzzle fragment, painting a picture of an empire built in shadows. And I'm memorizing every word, because that's what he's paying me to do. That's the price of my protection, of keeping my job, of staying safe from women like Katerina Volkov who see people like me as expendable. An hour passes. The men eat the food I serve, them rare steaks, roasted vegetables, sides of creamy polenta that I know cost $40 a plate. They barely look at me. I'm furniture. Background. Invisible. Exactly what Nikolai told me to be. But then the door opens, and everything changes. Katerina Volkov stands in the doorway, her blonde hair perfect, her red dress clinging to her curves. Behind her is a large man in a black suit, who can only be her husband, Dmitri. He's in his 50s, thick-necked and bull-shouldered, with the kind of face that's seen violence and dealt it out in equal measure. Nikolai, Katerina purrs, her lips forming his name with familiar ease. I didn't know you were dining here tonight. What a pleasant surprise. The temperature in the room drops. Every man at the table has gone still, their jovial conversation evaporating like mist. Nikolai stands, his movements unhurried but precise. Katerina, Dmitri, I wasn't aware you had a reservation. We didn't, Dmitri says, his voice a gravelly rumble. But my wife insisted on dining here after the excellent service she received earlier. The irony of the statement isn't lost on me. I keep my eyes down, my body angled slightly away, trying to make myself even smaller. But Katerina has noticed me. Her red lips curve into a smile that doesn't reach her eyes. Oh, how funny. It's the mute girl from earlier. I see you've found more. Appropriate work standing silently in corners. One of Nikolai's men shifts in his seat. The scarred one's hand moves toward his jacket, a gesture I recognize even without understanding its full implication. Arya is under my employ, Nikolai says, his voice quiet but with an undercurrent of steel. She has my complete confidence and protection. The word protection lands like a stone in still water, its ripples spreading through the room. Katerina's smile falters slightly. Dmitri's eyes narrow. Of course, Katerina says smoothly, though her gaze on me has sharpened. I meant no disrespect. I'm sure you didn't, Nikolai replies. Just as I'm sure you'll remember that anyone who works for me is afforded the same respect you would show me personally. The threat is subtle but unmistakable. Katerina's perfect composure cracks just slightly, a tightening around her eyes, a stiffness in her posture. Naturally, she says. Then to her husband. Perhaps we should find another restaurant after all. I'm not particularly hungry anymore. They leave, Katerina's heels clicking sharply against the hardwood floor, Dmitri following with one last measuring look at Nikolai. The moment the door closes, the scarred man lets out a low whistle. That was interesting. That was necessary, Nikolai corrects. He turns to me, his dark eyes unreadable. Arya, you can go. Wait for me in my office. His office? I didn't even know he had an office here, but I nod and slip out of the room, my mind reeling from everything I've just witnessed. The casual discussion of illegal shipments, the calculated violence underlying every word, and Nikolai Konstantin, a man I met less than 2 hours ago, declaring me under his protection as if I were his property. I should be terrified. Instead, I feel something else entirely. Something dangerous and intoxicating, and completely inappropriate. I feel safe. Marcus finds me in the hallway, his expression somewhere between relief and panic. Arya, thank God. Mr. Konstantin asked for you to wait in the manager's office. He pauses, searching my face. Are you okay? What happened? I pull out my notepad and write quickly. I'm fine. Mr. Konstantin offered me additional work. Private events. It's not quite a lie, but it's not the truth either. Marcus doesn't need to know about shipments and territory disputes and the Volkov family's interest in docks that don't belong to them. That's wonderful, Marcus says, though he still looks worried. He's a very important client, very generous. He stops himself, as if reconsidering his words. I write, just what? Just be careful, he says finally. Mr. Konstantin is not someone you want to disappoint. I nod, understanding the warning beneath the words. Men like Nikolai Konstantin don't make threats, they make promises. And based on what I've seen tonight, he keeps them. The manager's office is small but well appointed, with a desk, 2 chairs, and a window overlooking the kitchen. I sit in one of the chairs, my body finally registering the exhaustion of the evening. My feet ache, my shoulders are tight with tension, and my mind won't stop replaying the scene in the private dining room. The way Nikolai had defended me, the way Katerina's confidence had crumbled when he'd extended his protection, the way every man in that room had deferred to him without question. Who is he really? What kind of power does he wield? The door opens, and Nikolai enters. closing it softly behind him. He's taken off his suit jacket, and his black shirt is rolled up to his elbows, revealing forearms corded with muscle. There's a watch on his left wrist, simple, elegant, probably worth more than I make in a year. He sits on the edge of the desk, close enough that our knees almost touch, and pulls out his phone. He types, then shows me the screen. "You did well tonight. Better than I expected." I take the phone and type back. "What happens now?" He reads it, then meets my eyes. "Now you tell me everything you saw. Every conversation you read. Every detail, no matter how small." For the next 30 minutes, I type out everything I remember. The shipment arriving Thursday, the customs contact, the talk of the Castellano merger, and the man being pushed out, the wife filing for divorce, the Albanian crew in Queens. Nikolai reads each entry, his expression growing more thoughtful with every line. When I finish, he hands the phone back to me, with a new message. "You have a remarkable memory." I type, "I have to. It's how I survive." He studies me for a long moment, something shifting in his dark eyes. Then he types again. "The money from tonight, $10,000. It will be deposited in your account tomorrow." My fingers shake as I read. The number. $10,000. That's more than I make in 6 months at Luminaire. I type frantically. "That's too much. I just watched and listened. I didn't do anything." "You did exactly what I needed," he types back. "And you'll do it again. Katerina Volkov will be back next week. She'll want to see if I really meant my threat. When she comes, you'll be at her table, serving her with perfect professionalism, and you'll listen to every word she says." My stomach twists with fear and something else, anticipation maybe. Or the thrill of being needed, of being valuable in a way I never have been before. I type, "Why me? You could hire professional spies, people who do this for a living." Nikolai's lips curve into something that might be a smile if it reached his eyes. He types, "Because professional spies look like spies. You look exactly like what you are, a waitress trying to survive. No one suspects you. No one sees you as a threat. And most importantly," he pauses, then adds the final line, "you have something to protect. That makes you loyal." He's right, of course. Mia's face flashes in my mind, her bright smile, her dreams of helping people. I would do anything to keep her safe, to keep her future secure. Even this. I nod slowly, accepting the bargain we're making. My silence, my skill, my complicity in exchange for money, protection, and safety. Nikolai reaches out, and this time I don't flinch. His hand cups my chin, tilting my face up to meet his gaze. His thumb brushes across my cheek, a gesture so gentle it seems at odds with everything else about him. "You're stronger than you think, Arya," he says, his lips forming the words slowly, deliberately. "I saw it the moment I walked into that break room. The way you held yourself despite being humiliated. The way you didn't cry, didn't break." His thumb moves to trace the line of my jaw, and heat floods through me, unwelcome, inappropriate, undeniable. "You're going to be very valuable to me," he continues, his voice dropping lower. "And I protect what's mine." The possessiveness in that statement should alarm me, should send me running out the door and never looking back. Instead, I lean into his touch, just slightly, and watch his dark eyes flare with something I can't quite name. "Go home," he says finally, dropping his hand. "Get some rest. I'll send a car for you tomorrow at 7. We have much to discuss." I stand on shaky legs, grab my notepad, and type one final question. "Am I in danger?" Nikolai reads it, then looks at me with an expression that's almost tender. "As long as you're with me," he says, "you're the safest person in New York." I want to believe him. God help me, I do. I leave the office, collect my coat and purse from my locker, and step out into the cold November night. The subway ride back to Queens passes in a blur, my mind replaying every moment, every touch, every word. When I finally collapse into my narrow bed in my tiny apartment, I pull out my phone and look at my bank account. Tomorrow, $10,000 will appear there like magic. Blood money, maybe. Danger money, certainly. But also hope. Also possibility. Also the kind of security I've never had before. I close my eyes, and all I see is Nikolai Konstantin's dark gaze holding mine. And I know, with absolute certainty, that my life will never be the same again. The black Mercedes arrives at exactly 7 in the morning. idling outside my apartment building like a sleek predator. I watch it from my third-floor window, coffee cup trembling slightly in my hands. The driver is the same man from last night, broad-shouldered, impassive, with an earpiece that marks him as more than just a chauffeur, security, or something worse. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. The car is waiting. Arya. Don't make me come up and get you. NK. My stomach flips at the casual dominance in those words. Less than 12 hours ago, Nikolai Konstantin was a stranger. Now he's sending cars to my apartment, depositing obscene amounts of money into my account, and making demands I don't dare refuse. I check my reflection one last time. Dark jeans, a cream sweater, minimal, makeup, my black hair pulled into a simple ponytail. I look like myself, which feels important somehow. Whatever world I'm entering, I need to remember who I am beneath it all. The driver opens the door as I approach, his eyes scanning the street with professional efficiency. Miss Petrova, he says, and I realize with a jolt that he knows my last name. Of course he does. Nikolai probably knows everything about me by now. The interior of the Mercedes smells like leather and expensive cologne. I sink into the back seat, and the driver pulls away from the curb smoothly, merging into Manhattan gent-bound traffic. Where are we going? I type into my phone's notes app, then hold it up so he can see it in the rearview mirror. Mr. Konstantin's residence, he replies, his eyes flicking to meet mine briefly. He's expecting you for breakfast. Breakfast. At his home. The intimacy of it makes my pulse quicken. The drive takes us through Midtown, past the usual morning chaos of honking taxis and rushing pedestrians, then into a quieter, more exclusive neighborhood. We stop in front of a pre-war building with an elegant limestone facade and a doorman who nods respectfully as we approach. The driver escorts me through a marble lobby to a private elevator that requires a key card to operate. We rise in silence, and I watch the numbers climb 10, 15, 20, 25, until we reach the penthouse level. The elevator opens directly into Nikolai's apartment. I step out and freeze, overwhelmed by the sheer space. Floor-to-ceiling windows offer panoramic views of Manhattan, the morning sun casting golden light across hardwood floors and minimalist furniture that probably costs more than most people's cars. Everything is clean lines and muted colors, grays, blacks, deep blues with touches of warmth from strategically placed artwork and the occasional leather chair. It's beautiful and cold at the same time, like Nikolai himself. He's in the dining room, the driver says, gesturing down a hallway. Through there, I find Nikolai sitting at a long, glass table, laptop open, phone to his ear, speaking rapid Russian. He's dressed more casually than last night, black jeans, a charcoal sweater that emphasizes his broad shoulders. No shoes. The informality somehow makes him more dangerous, more real. He sees me and holds up one finger. Wait. I stand awkwardly in the doorway, unsure whether to sit or remain standing, acutely aware that I'm in his private space now, his territory. He ends the call and closes the laptop, his dark eyes fixing on me with that same unsettling intensity. Sit, he says, gesturing to the chair across from him. Are you hungry? I nod, though my stomach is too twisted with nerves to actually want food. As if summoned, a woman appears from what must be the kitchen, older, perhaps 60, with kind eyes and an efficient manner. She sets down plates of food, fluffy scrambled eggs, smoked salmon, fresh fruit, pastries that look like they came from a French bakery. Thank you, Elena, Nikolai says, and the woman nods before disappearing again. We eat in silence for a few minutes. Or rather, he eats while I push food around my plate, hyper-aware of his presence, of the way he moves with such controlled grace, of how the morning light catches the sharp angles of his face. Finally, he sets down his fork and pulls out his phone, typing. We need to establish some ground rules. I take the phone and read, then nod for him to continue. First, he types, you will no longer work at Luminaire. Your employment there ended last night. Your new position is with me, exclusively. My eyes widen. I grab the phone and type frantically. I need that job. I can't just quit without notice. What about my references? He reads it, his expression unchanging. Marcus received a generous donation to cover any inconvenience. Your references will be excellent. Trust me. Trust him. As if trust is something that can be commanded. He continues typing. Second, you will move into this building. There's an apartment on the 15th floor that's been prepared for you. 3 bedrooms, full kitchen, views of Central Park. Your sister can stay with you whenever she likes. I stare at the words, my heart pounding. He's not asking, he's telling me. And he's already thought about Mia, already planned for her. I type, why? Why do I need to move? Because Katerina Volkov now knows you exist. He types back, his jaw tightening. Because anyone looking to hurt me will see you as a vulnerability. Because your studio apartment in Queens has a broken lock on the fire escape, and security cameras that haven't worked in 6 months. Ice floods my veins. He's had my apartment investigated. He knows about the broken lock I've been meaning to fix but couldn't afford. He knows I'm exposed. You're not a prisoner, he adds, reading my expression. But you are under my protection. That means I need to know you're safe. Always. I should refuse. Should tell him this is too much, too fast, too invasive. But the memory of Katerina's cold eyes and cruel smile stops me. The way Dmitry Volkov had looked at me, calculating, assessing threat level. These aren't people who make empty threats. And Nikolai is offering me safety. Real safety. The kind I haven't felt since before my ex-boyfriend's hands closed around my throat. I type slowly. What do you get out of this? Besides someone to spy for you? He reads it, then sets the phone down and leans back in his chair, studying me with those dark, unreadable eyes. You really don't see it, do you? He says aloud, his lips forming the words carefully. I shake my head, confused. He picks up the phone again and types. You're intelligent, observant, and invisible to the people I need to watch. But more than that, you're loyal. You protect your sister above everything else. That kind of loyalty is rare in my world. Valuable. Then he adds one more line. And I find myself wanting to protect you the same way you protect her. The confession is so unexpected, so raw, that I can't look away from his eyes. There's something there, vulnerability, maybe, or longing that doesn't match the cold, controlled man who runs an empire built on violence and fear. My phone buzzes. A text from Mia. Oh my God, Arya, your account. Did you win the lottery? Right. The $10,000 deposited overnight. I type a quick response. Got a new job, better pay. Tell you everything this weekend. When I look up, Nikolai is watching me with something like amusement. Your sister, he says. It's not a question. I nod. She's studying psychology at NYU, he continues. And I don't even bother being surprised that he knows this. Good grades. Works part-time at the campus bookstore. No boyfriend currently, though there's a study partner named David, who's clearly interested. My eyes narrow, and I grab the phone. Stay away from her. Whatever this is between us, she's not part of it. He reads my words, and for the first time, I see genuine emotion cross his face. Respect, perhaps, or understanding. I would never hurt your sister, Arya, he says quietly. But I won't lie to you. I had her investigated because anyone close to you is a potential liability. That's how my world works. He leans forward, his gaze intense. But I can also ensure she's protected, that no one touches her, threatens her, uses her to get to you, security that she'll never even notice. Would you prefer she remains exposed? If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. The logic is sound, even if it makes my skin crawl. Mia is the most important person in my life. If being with Nikolai puts her in danger, then yes, she needs protection, even if she doesn't know about it. I type, fine, but she doesn't find out about any of this. As far as she knows, I got a better job, that's all. Agreed, he types back. Now, there's one more thing we need to discuss. He stands and walks to the window, his back to me, hands in his pockets. The morning light silhouettes his tall frame, and I find myself noticing details I shouldn't. The way his sweater fits across his shoulders, the strength in his stance, the controlled power in every movement. Katerina Volkov will return to Luminaire next Tuesday, he says, still facing the window. She'll want to test my protection of you, to see if I really meant what I said. He turns to face me, and the look in his eyes makes my breath catch. When she comes, you won't be working there anymore. You'll be with me, dining at my table, in the private room, as my... He pauses, choosing his words carefully. As my companion. My heart stutters. Companion. The word carries implications I'm not ready to face. I type. Won't that make me more of a target? It will? Make you untouchable, he corrects. Right now, you're an employee, I defended. Forgettable. But if you're seen at my side, in my world, everyone will know what you mean to me, and no one will dare harm what's mine. That word again. Mine. Possessive, dangerous, and thrilling in ways I don't want to. Examine. What if I don't want to be yours? I type, testing him. He crosses the room in 3 strides, moving with that predatory grace, and braces his hands on the table on either side of me, effectively caging me in. His face is inches from mine, close enough that I can see flecks of gold in his dark eyes. Can smell his cologne mixed with coffee and something uniquely him. Then say no, he says softly, his lips forming each word with deliberate care. Say no, and I'll have my driver take you home. I'll ensure your safety from a distance. But this, he gestures between us, ends here. His eyes search mine, and I realize with shock that he means it. For all his power and control, he's giving me a choice, a real one. I could walk away, go back to my life, my job, my safe anonymity. Nikolai would protect me from the shadows, and I'd never see him again. Or I could stay, step into his dangerous world, accept his protection, become whatever companion means in the context of a man who discusses shipments and territory over dinner. I think of Katerina's cruel smile, of the scarred man's casual discussion of violence, of the way every person in Nikolai's orbit deferred to him, with a mixture of respect and fear. And I think of how he looked at me last night, like I was precious, like I mattered. I pick up the phone and type slowly, I'll stay, but I have conditions. Something like relief flashes across his face before he schools it back to neutrality. He straightens, giving me space, and nods for me to continue. First, I type, Mia's protection is non-negotiable. She stays safe, always. Done. Second, I need to understand what I'm getting into. No more surprises about your business or the people in it. He considers this, then nods. I'll tell you what I can. Some things are safer for you not to know. Third, I type, my fingers trembling slightly. Whatever this is between us, it doesn't happen unless I want it to. You don't own me just because you're protecting me. His eyes darken, and for a moment I think I've pushed too far. Then his lips curve into something that might be a smile if it reached his eyes. I would never take what isn't freely given, Arya, he says quietly. But I won't pretend I don't want you. I do. More than I should. The confession hangs in the air between us, charged and dangerous. My pulse races, and I'm suddenly very aware of how close he is, how easily he could close the distance between us. But he doesn't. He just watches me, waiting. I stand, forcing myself to meet his gaze. We're still close enough that I have to tilt my head back to maintain eye contact. Close enough that I can feel the heat radiating from his body. I type one final message. Then we have a deal. The glimpse behind the mask. The apartment on the 15th floor is more beautiful than anywhere I've ever lived. Hardwood floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, a kitchen with marble countertops and appliances I don't know how to use. The master. Bedroom has a king-size bed and an ensuite bathroom with a soaking tub. Elena, Nikolai's housekeeper, helps me settle in. She's brought my belongings from Queens, all of them. Everything I own fitting into just 6 boxes. The contrast between my old life and this new one is stark, almost painful. Mr. Constantine wanted me to show you this, Elena says, leading me to the second bedroom. Inside, I find a desk, a comfortable chair, and multiple monitors. For your work, she explains. He said you'd need a quiet space. My work, spying, translating conversations I'm not meant to hear, becoming complicit in whatever empire Nikolai is building. But when I check my bank account on my phone, I see that another deposit has been made, $20,000, with a note. First month's salary, your apartment is paid for. Focus on settling in. $20,000? A month. I sink onto the edge of the bed, overwhelmed. This is more money than I've ever seen in my life, more security than I've ever had, and all I have to do is watch, listen, and report back to a man who terrifies and attracts me in equal measure. That evening, Nikolai knocks on my door. He's changed into dark jeans and a black t-shirt, more casual than I've seen him, and he's carrying a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. May I? He asks, gesturing inside. I nod, stepping back to let him in. He moves to the living room windows, setting the wine and glasses on the coffee table, and pours for both of us. I take a glass and sit on the couch, maintaining distance. He settles into the chair across from me, close but not crowding. For a few minutes, we just drink in silence, The wine is excellent, smooth and complex, probably expensive. Everything in his world is expensive. Then he pulls out his phone and starts typing. When he's done, he passes it to me. Tell me about yourself. The real you, not what's in the background check. I hesitate, then begin typing. What do you want to know? Everything. Start with your childhood. So I do. I tell him about growing up in Brooklyn, daughter of Russian immigrants who came to America for a better life. About my father's work as a construction foreman, my mother's job cleaning offices at night. About the car accident that killed them both when I was 19, leaving me guardian to 12-year-old Mia. I tell him about the struggle to keep us afloat. About working 3 jobs while finishing my degree. About meeting David, my ex-boyfriend, who seemed charming at first, but slowly revealed his true nature. About the night he put me in the hospital. Nikolai's expression darkens as he reads about the attack. About David's hands around my throat, crushing my larynx, stealing my voice. About the surgeries and the recovery and the final diagnosis that I would never speak again. When I finish typing, I look up to find Nikolai's jaw clenched, his hands curled into fists. He types, "Where is he now?" "David." I type back. "Serving 8 years. For assault. Gets out in 3. "Not anymore," Nikolai types, and there's something lethal in his eyes. "He won't hurt you again. Ever." The promise should frighten me. Should make me question what he means, what he's capable of. But instead, I feel only relief and gratitude. He sets down his phone and moves to sit beside me on the couch. Not touching, but close enough that I can feel the warmth of his body. "My turn," he says aloud, making sure I can see his lips. "You've shared your pain. Let me share mine." He begins to speak, and I watch his lips form words that reveal the man beneath the dangerous exterior. He was born in Moscow, son of a low-level enforcer in the Bratva, the Russian mafia. His father was killed when Nikolai was 8, executed for skimming money. His mother brought him to America, to Brooklyn, where she worked herself to death trying to give him opportunities. "She died when I was 15, he says, his voice rough with old grief. "Heart attack from stress and exhaustion. I was left with nothing. No family, no money, no future." He looks at me, and I see the vulnerability there, the raw emotion he usually keeps locked away. I joined the organization that killed my father. Started at the bottom, running errands, proving myself. I was smart, ruthless when I needed to be, loyal to the right people. I rose fast. His jaw tightens. By the time I was 30, I controlled territory in 3 boroughs. By 35, I'd built an empire, but it cost me everything else. Relationships, trust, the ability to live normally. He reaches out and takes my hand, his thumb tracing circles on my palm. The touch is gentle, almost reverent. "I've been alone for a long time, Arya, surrounded by people but truly alone. And then I walked into that break room and saw you sitting there, trying so hard to be strong despite being humiliated. And something shifted." He brings my hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to my knuckles. "You reminded me that there are still good things in this world, worth protecting, worth fighting for." My breath catches at the intensity in his eyes, at the vulnerability he's offering me. This isn't just about protection or business. This is something deeper, something real. I type with my free hand. "I'm not good, Nikolai. I'm broken, damaged." He reads it, then cups my face with both hands, forcing me to meet his gaze. "We're all broken," he says softly. "The question is whether we let it destroy us or make us stronger. You chose strength. So did I. That's why this works." And then he kisses me. It's nothing like the rough, demanding kisses I remember from David. This is controlled, careful, asking permission, with every brush of lips. He pulls back, giving me space to refuse, to push him away. Instead, I lean in, kissing him back, pouring all my confusion and fear and unwanted desire into the connection. His hands slide into my hair, gentle but possessive, and I feel something crack open inside my chest, the careful walls I've built around my heart since the attack. When we finally break apart, we're both breathing hard. His forehead rests against mine, and I can feel his heart pounding as fast as my own. "I won't rush you," he says, his voice rough. "We have time." I nod, not trusting myself to type anything coherent. He stands, smoothing down his t-shirt, visibly collecting himself. "Get some rest. Tomorrow we begin your real education." What kind of education? I type. His smile is almost predatory. How to survive in my world. The complication. The next 5 days pass in a blur of training and preparation. Nikolai teaches me about the various factions in New York's underworld. The Russian bratva, the Italian families, the Irish crews, the emerging Albanian and Chinese organizations. He explains territories, alliances, the delicate balance of power that keeps the loft city from erupting into open warfare. I learn to recognize faces, names, connections. The man with the scar is Alexei, Nikolai's second in command. The silver-haired man is Victor, his financial advisor. There are dozens of others, each with their role, their loyalty, their price. Elena teaches me how to move in Nikolai's world, how to dress for different occasions, which fork to use at formal dinners, how to make small talk without revealing anything of substance. She's patient and kind, and I suspect she's been in my position before, though she never says so directly. Mia visits on Saturday, her eyes wide as she takes in the apartment. "Arya, this is insane," she signs, using the ASL we learned together after my attack. "What kind of job did you get?" "Executive assistant to a businessman," I sign back. "Very private, very well paid." "And he just gave you this apartment?" It looks suspicious. "That seems weird. He has several properties. This one was empty," I lie smoothly. "Consider it a signing bonus." She's not entirely convinced, but the lure of the second bedroom, which I've told her is hers whenever she wants, wins out. We spend the afternoon together, cooking in the fancy kitchen, watching movies, being sisters again. When she leaves, she hugs me tight. "I'm happy for you," she signs. "You deserve good things." If only she knew what those good things cost. Tuesday arrives too quickly. The day Katerina Volkov returns to Luminaire. Nikolai has acquired a dress for me, midnight blue silk that hugs my curves and falls to mid-thigh, with a neckline that's elegant without being revealing, matching heels that add 3 inches to my height, simple jewelry, diamond studs, a delicate bracelet. I look like I belong in his world. The transformation is startling. Elena does my hair and makeup, transforming me from invisible waitress to someone who commands attention. When I look in the mirror, I barely recognize myself. "Beautiful," Nikolai says from the doorway. He's in a perfectly tailored black suit, looking like sin personified. "Are you ready?" I nod, though my stomach is churning with nerves. The drive to Luminaire feels surreal. Less than a week ago, I was scrambling to make rent, worried about losing my job. Now I'm arriving in a Mercedes, dressed in designer clothes, on the arm of one of the most dangerous men in New York. Inside, Marcus does a double take when he sees me. "Arya? You look stunning." Nikolai's hand tightens possessively on my waist. "Table 7, he says coolly. "I believe it's currently occupied." Marcus nods, understanding the implicit command. "Of course, Mr. Constantine. I'll have it cleared. Immediately." We're shown to the private dining room first, where Alexei and Victor are already waiting. They stand as we enter, their eyes assessing me with new interest. "Gentlemen," Nikolai says, pulling out my chair. "You remember Arya?" "Of course," Alexei says, his scarred face breaking into something that might be a smile. "The woman who sees everything." I incline my head in acknowledgement, settling into my role. Nikolai sits beside me, close enough that our shoulders touch, his hand resting on my thigh beneath the table, a gesture of possession, protection, and something more. Intimate. Dinner is served. We eat and talk, or rather, they talk while I listen, reading lips, memorizing details. It's business as usual, discussions of shipments and payments and territorial disputes, until the door opens. Katerina Volkov enters, resplendent in a red dress that matches her, lips, Dmitri following like a shadow. Her eyes land on me immediately, and I watch shock, recognition, and fury flash across her face in rapid succession. "Nikolai," she says, her smile not reaching her eyes. "I didn't realize you'd be dining here tonight." "Katerina, Dmitri." Nikolai stands, his movements unhurried. "Join us." It's not a question. It's a command disguised as an invitation. They sit, Katerina's gaze never leaving me. I can read her lips clearly. "So this is your new pet project, the mute girl you're so protective of." "Arya is my companion," Nikolai says, his voice carrying a warning. "She dines with me, works with me, and is afforded every courtesy due to my position. I trust this is understood. The threat is explicit now." Katerina's smile grows brittle. Of course, she says. Then, switching to Russian, she adds something I suspect she doesn't think I'll bad. Understand. How long before you tire of her, I wonder? A month, 2. Nikolai's hand tightens on my thigh, but his expression remains neutral. He responds in English, deliberately. I don't tire of things that are valuable to me. Arya is extraordinarily valuable. Katerina's eyes narrow. She looks at me, really looks, and I see the moment she reassesses. The moment she realizes I might be more than just another pretty face in Nikolai's rotation. I see, she says slowly. Then I apologize for any misunderstanding last week. I didn't realize she was important to you. She is, Nikolai says simply. Remember that. The rest of dinner is tense, filled with stilted conversation and meaningful silences. I watch Katerina and Dmitri carefully, reading every word they speak both in English and Russian, and that's when I catch it. Katerina, speaking to her husband in Russian, her lips forming words she thinks are private. The shipment Thursday. Make sure our people are in position. Nikolai won't expect us to move on the docks so soon. My fingers instinctively touch my bracelet, the signal Nikolai and I established. His eyes flick to me, then back to Katerina, his expression never changing. But I know he understands. The Volkovs are planning something that involves Nikolai's territory. When dinner finally ends, Katerina and Dmitri leave first. The moment the door closes, Alexei leans forward. What did you catch? He asks me directly. I pull out my phone and type quickly. They're planning to move on the docks Thursday. During your shipment. They think you won't expect it so soon. Nikolai reads it, his expression darkening. How did they know about Thursday's shipment? We have a leak, Victor says grimly. Someone on the inside. The implications hang heavy in the room. Someone in Nikolai's organization is betraying him. And the Volkovs are preparing to strike. Nikolai stands, his body radiating controlled fury. Alexei, increase security on all shipments. Victor, run financials on everyone with access to the schedule. I want names by morning. He turns to me, his eyes softening slightly. You did well. Come, I'm taking you home. In the car, he pulls me against his side, his arm around my shoulders. I can feel the tension in his body, the barely controlled anger. This isn't your fault, I type on my phone. He reads it, then kisses the top of my head. I know, but it makes me realize how much danger you're in. If they know about you, if they think you're a vulnerability. He doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't have to. We both know what happens to vulnerabilities in his world. When we reach my apartment building, he walks me up, checking the locks, the windows, his trained eye assessing security. At my door, he cups my face in his hands. I won't let them hurt you, he says fiercely. No matter what it costs. Do you understand? I nod, my heart pounding. He kisses me then, deep and possessive, and full of unspoken promises. When he pulls back, his eyes are dark with desire and something deeper. Lock the door behind me, he says. Don't open it for anyone but me or my people, and keep your phone on, always. I watch him leave, then lock the door as instructed, my body still trembling from his kiss. Only, later, lying in my expensive bed in my expensive apartment, do I allow myself to feel the fear. The Volkovs know about me. They're planning an attack, and I'm caught in the middle of a war I barely understand. My phone buzzes. A text from Nikolai. Sleep well, Malaya. Tomorrow everything changes. I stare at the Russian endearment, my dear, and realize with terrifying clarity that I'm falling for him. For a man who could get me killed. For a man who might be the only one who can keep me alive. Wednesday morning. I wake to the sound of someone pounding on my door. My heart lurches as I grab my phone, 3:47 in the morning. The pounding continues, urgent and insistent. I pull on a robe and check the peephole. Alexei stands there, his scarred face grim, 2 other men flanking him. I open the door, and he immediately pushes inside, his eyes scanning the apartment. Get dressed, he says, facing me so I can read his lips. We're moving you. Now. My hands shake as I type. What happened? The leak, he says grimly. It's worse than we thought. Someone sent your address to the Volkovs. They know where you live. Terror floods through me, cold and sharp. I type, frantically. Where's Nikolai? Dealing with the situation. He sent me to get you. 5 minutes, Arya. Essentials only. I throw on jeans, a sweater, and boots. Grab my phone, charger, and the small bag I keep packed with documents and emergency cash, a habit from my days running from David. 2 minutes. Alexei hustles me out of the apartment and into the elevator. His men take positions on either side of me, hands inside their jackets where I'm sure they're carrying guns. Where are we going? I type. Safe house in Westchester. Nikolai will meet us there, but we never make it. As we exit the building into the pre-dawn darkness, a black van screeches to a stop at the curb. Doors slide open, and men pour out, 4 of them, armed, moving with military precision. Alexei shoves me behind him, his gun already drawn. "Get her back inside," he shouts to his men, but it's too late. One of the attackers fires not bullets, but something else, a dart that embeds itself in Alexei's neck. He goes down hard, his gun clattering to the pavement. His men suffer the same fate within seconds. Tranquilizers. They want us alive. I turn to run, but strong hands grab me from behind. A cloth presses over my nose and mouth, chemical sweet, suffocating. I try to fight, try to scream, but no sound comes. My vision blurs, my limbs growing heavy. The last thing I see before darkness takes me is Dmitry Volkov's face, smiling coldly down at me. Then, nothing. I wake to the smell of mildew and concrete. My head pounds, my mouth tastes like chemicals, and my wrists are bound behind me. I'm sitting in a metal chair in what looks like an abandoned warehouse. Rust-stained walls, broken windows letting in gray morning light. The distant sound of water lapping against pilings. The docks. They've brought me to the docks. Across from me, Katerina Volkov sits in a chair of her own, legs crossed elegantly, looking as polished as ever despite the decrepit surroundings. Behind her stand Dmitry and 3 of his men, all armed. My phone is gone. My bag is gone. I have nothing. Katerina notices I'm awake and smiles. "Good morning, Arya. I hope you slept well. Those tranquilizers can be quite disorienting." I glare at her, my mind racing. How long have I been unconscious? Does Nikolai know where I am? Is Alexei alive? She stands and approaches, her heels clicking on the concrete floor. "You're probably wondering why you're here, why we went to such trouble for a mute waitress." She crouches in front of me, bringing her face level with mine. "Because you're not just a waitress, are you? You're Nikolai's eyes and ears, his little spy, and more importantly," her smile turns, "cruel. You're his weakness." She stands and walks back to Dmitry, speaking in Russian. I read every word. "When Nikolai comes for her, and he will come, we'll be ready. The moment he steps into the kill zone, we take him out. Then the docks are ours, and the rest of his territory will fall like dominoes." My blood runs cold. This isn't just about me. I'm bait, a trap to draw Nikolai into an ambush. I need to warn him. But how? Katerina's phone rings. She answers, speaking in English this time. "Yes? Good. Keep watching the approaches. The moment you see his cars, let me know." She ends the call and looks at me. "Your knight in shining armor is on his way. He's very predictable when it comes to protecting what's his." She walks to a table in the corner and picks up something, my phone. He's been calling nonstop, texting. It's almost sweet how desperate he sounds. She holds the phone up, showing me the screen. Dozens of missed calls. Messages that grow increasingly frantic. "Where are you? Arya, answer me. If they've hurt you, I swear to God I'm coming for you. Hold on. Please be alive. Please." The raw emotion in those words makes my chest ache. He cares, truly cares. And he's walking into a trap because of it. Katerina sets the phone down. I almost feel bad for him. Almost. But business is business, and Nikolai has been a thorn in our side for too long. This is just efficient. She returns to her chair, settling in as if waiting for a show to start. I test my bonds, trying to find any give in the rope. Nothing. My hands are bound too tightly, and my legs are tied to the chair. I'm completely helpless, but I'm not silent. Not entirely. I start rocking the chair, making noise, metal scraping against concrete. Dmitry's men look over, annoyed. "Make her stop," Katerina says dismissively. One of the men approaches, his hand raised to strike me, but before he can, the sound of engines echoes from outside multiple vehicles, approaching fast. Katerina sits forward, her eyes lighting with anticipation. He's here. Dmitri speaks into a radio. All positions. Hold fire until my command. I want Konstantin alive until I can look him in the eye. The warehouse door explodes inward. Not kicked open. Not unlocked. Explodes the metal door, flying off its hinges in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. Through the smoke and debris, Nikolai appears. He's dressed. All in black tactical gear. Kevlar vest. A gun in each hand. Behind him, Alexei emerges, very much alive. Blood streaking down the side of his face. Victor follows, along with a dozen more men. All armed. All moving with lethal precision. Nikolai's eyes find mine immediately. And the relief that washes over his face is so profound it makes my throat tight. Then his gaze shifts to Katerina, and his expression turns to ice. "Let her go," he says, his voice carrying through the warehouse. "Now." Katerina laughs, standing with theatrical grace. "Or what, Nikolai? You're outnumbered. My men have you surrounded. You walk out of here, or you die. Your choice." "You think I came unprepared?" Nikolai's smile is terrifying. "Alexei?" Alexei speaks into his own radio. Now. The sound of gunfire erupts from outside. Not close, but surrounding the warehouse. Dmitri's radio crackles with panicked voices. "We're under attack. They're everywhere. We need backup." Katerina's confidence wavers. Dmitri's men shift nervously, their weapons no longer trained on Nikolai but swinging toward the exits, uncertain where the threat will come from. "You were expecting me to walk in alone," Nikolai says, advancing slowly. "That was your mistake. I brought an army." He raises his gun, aiming at Dmitri. "Last chance. Release her, and you live. Refuse, and I paint these walls with your blood." Dmitri's jaw tightens. For a moment, I think he might actually be stupid enough to refuse. But then, Katerina puts a hand on his arm. "Let her go," she says quietly. "We've lost." Dmitri nods curtly to one of his men, who approaches me with a knife. He cuts the ropes binding my wrists and ankles, and I nearly collapse as blood rushes back into my limbs. Nikolai is there before I hit the ground, catching me, pulling me against his chest. His hands run over me frantically, checking for injuries. "Are you hurt? Did they touch you?" His eyes are wild with fear and fury. I shake my head, clinging to him, breathing in his scent, gunpowder and cologne and safety. He kisses my forehead, my cheeks, my lips desperate, relieved kisses that have nothing to do with passion and everything to do with gratitude that I'm alive. Then he turns back to the Volkovs, his arm like a steel band around my waist. "You made a mistake today," he says, his voice deadly calm. "You touched what's mine. You threatened her life." "We had a business disagreement," Dmitri tries to argue. "This doesn't have to be. It's already war." Nikolai cuts him off. "You declared it the moment you took her. And I promise you, Dmitri, you will lose." He looks at Alexei. "Secure them. I want eyes on the Volkovs. 24/7. Every move they make, I want to know about it." To Katerina, he adds, "You wanted to see my weakness. Now you've seen it. But what you didn't consider is that my weakness is also my greatest strength. Because there is nothing I won't do to protect her." He turns, guiding me toward the exit. His men form a protective circle around us, weapons drawn, ready for any threat. Outside, dawn is breaking over the East River. A dozen black SUVs are parked in a semicircle, and Dmitri's men are being disarmed and zip-tied by Nikolai's forces. It wasn't even close to a fair fight. Nikolai lifts me into the back of his SUV, climbing in beside me. The moment the door closes, shutting out the world, he pulls me into his lap, burying his face in my hair. "I thought I'd lost you," he says, his voice raw. "When Alexei called, when he said they'd taken you." He pulls back, cupping my face in his hands, his eyes searching mine with desperate intensity. "I would have burned this city to the ground to get you back. Do you understand? I would have sacrificed everything." I reach up, covering his hands with mine, and nod. "I understand. Because I feel it too, this terrifying, all-consuming need to be near him, to be safe in his arms, to never let go." He kisses me again, deeper this time, his hands sliding into my hair. I kiss him back with equal desperation, needing the physical connection, the proof that we're both alive, both safe. When we finally break apart, he rests his forehead against mine. "I love you," he says simply. "I know it's fast. I know it's complicated. But I love you, Arya. And I'm not letting you go. Ever." My eyes fill with tears, the first I've shed since the attack. I pull out my phone, somehow retrieved from the Yasin warehouse, and type with shaking fingers, "I love you too. Even though you're dangerous and impossible, and you've turned my life upside down." He reads it, and his laugh is shaky with relief. "Is that a complaint?" I shake my head and type more. "It's a thank you. For seeing me. For protecting me. For making me feel safe for the first time since I lost my voice." His eyes shine with emotion as he pulls me close again, and we sit there in the back of the SUV as his driver takes us away from the docks. Away from the danger, toward whatever future we're building together. The battle the next 2 weeks are a blur of strategic moves and calculated violence. Nikolai doesn't just respond to the Volkov's attack, he dismantles their organization piece by piece. I watch it happen from the safety of his penthouse, where I've moved permanently. He doesn't ask. I don't protest. After the kidnapping, the idea of being alone in that 15th floor apartment makes my skin crawl. Alexei briefs us daily on the progress. The Volkovs' shipping contacts have mysteriously switched allegiances. Their protection payments have dried up. Their territory in Brooklyn is being absorbed by Nikolai's people, one block at a time. They're desperate. Alexei reports one evening, his scarred face grim. Dmitri reached out. "Wants to negotiate." "No," Nikolai says flatly. We're in his study, me curled on the leather couch while he works at his desk. "They don't get to negotiate. They threatened Arya. There are consequences for that." I stand and move to his desk, typing on my phone. "What are you going to do?" He looks at me, and I see the struggle in his eyes, the part of him that's ruthless, that operates in a world where mercy is weakness, warring with the part that wants to be better for me. "I'm going to take everything they have," he says finally. "Their territory, their income, their reputation, and then I'm going to offer them a choice: leave New York permanently, or face what comes next." "Not death?" I type. "Not if they're smart," he says, "but that's their decision to make." That night, I wake to find him standing at the window, bare-chested, his shoulders tense. I slip out of bed and join him, wrapping my arms around his waist from behind. He covers my hands with his own, leaning back into my embrace. "I keep seeing you in that warehouse," he says quietly. "Tied up, terrified. And I think about what could have happened if we'd been even 5 minutes later." I move to stand in front of him, typing on my phone. "But you weren't. You saved me. You always save me. I can't always be there," he says, his voice rough with emotion. "My world is dangerous, Arya. People will always try to use you to get to me. I can protect you, but I can't guarantee." I press my fingers to his lips, stopping him. Then I type, "I know the risks. I chose this. I chose you. Stop trying to protect me from my own choices." His arms come around me, pulling me flush against his body. "You're so much braver than you give yourself credit for." I type with one hand, the phone between us. I learned from the best. He kisses me then, slow and deep and full of unspoken promises. When he lifts me and carries me back to bed, when we make love with desperate intensity, it's not just about desire. It's about claiming each other, about choosing this dangerous, complicated, beautiful thing we've built together. The final confrontation comes 3 weeks after my kidnapping. Dmitri Volkov requests a meeting on neutral ground, a restaurant in Little Italy, owned by one of the old Italian families who maintain strict neutrality in territorial disputes. Nikolai agrees, but only on his terms. The meeting will be public, during lunch hours, with witnesses. No weapons, no violence, just conversation. He brings me with him. "Are you sure?" I type when he tells me. "Won't that provoke them?" "That's the point," he says, his smile sharp. "I want them to see you, to see that their attempt to hurt me through you failed, that you're still here, still mine, and that I'm stronger because of you." So I dress in another of Elena's selections, a cream silk blouse and tailored black pants. Elegant, understated. Nikolai wears a charcoal suit, no tie, looking every inch the dangerous predator he is. The restaurant is crowded when we arrive. Dmitri and Katerina are already seated at a corner table. She's lost weight, I notice. There are shadows under her eyes that makeup can't quite hide. He looks older, the stress of losing his empire evident in new lines around his mouth. We sit across from them, Nikolai's hand immediately finding mine under the table. "You've made your point," Dmitri says without preamble. "We underestimated you. It won't happen again. Because you're leaving, Nikolai says mildly. Tonight. I have a plane waiting to take you to Moscow. You'll be met by contacts who will ensure you're comfortable, far away from New York. Katerina's jaw tightens. You're banishing us? I'm giving you a choice, Nikolai corrects. Leave with your lives and a generous settlement enough to start over somewhere else. Or stay, and see what happens when I stop being merciful. That's not mercy, Dmitri growls. You're taking everything from us. You tried to kill the woman I love. Nikolai's voice drops to something lethal. I'm letting you live. That's more mercy than you deserve. I watch Katerina's face as she processes his words. The woman I love, said publicly, in front of witnesses, with no hesitation. She looks at me then, really looks, and I see the moment she understands. This isn't about territory or power. This is about love. About a man who would burn the world down for the woman beside him. We'll go, she says quietly, overruling whatever protest Dmitri was about to make. Tonight, as you said. Nikolai nods once. Wise decision. We stand to leave, but Katerina's voice stops me. Arya. I turn back, surprised she's addressing me, directly. He'll destroy anyone who threatens you, she says, her eyes weary. Anyone who even looks at you wrong. That kind of obsession is dangerous, for him and for you. I pull out my phone and type, then show her the screen. I know. But some things are worth the danger. She reads it and nods, slowly. Then I hope you survive it. The new world 6 months later. I stand in Nikolai's penthouse. Our penthouse now watching the sun set over Manhattan. The city glitters below us, a sea of lights and life and possibility. So much has changed. Mia finished her junior year with honors. She comes to visit every weekend, sprawling on our couch while she studies, completely comfortable in this strange new world her sister has entered. She likes Nikolai, which still surprises me. He's gentle with her, patient, making sure she knows she's welcome, that this is her home too. She still doesn't know the full truth about what he does. Maybe she suspects, but she's wise enough not to ask questions she might not want answered. The Volkovs kept their word. They're in Moscow, running a small operation under the protection of one of Nikolai's contacts there. Neutralized, but alive. David, my ex-boyfriend, was found dead in his prison cell 3 weeks after my kidnapping, ruled a suicide by the prison system. I know better. I know Nikolai kept his promise, and while I should feel guilty about it, about the life taken in my name, I can't quite manage it. Some threats are better. Eliminated. Nikolai's empire has grown. The docks, the shipping routes, the territories that once belonged to the Volkovs, all his now. He's become one of the most powerful men in New York's underworld. His name spoken with respect and fear in equal measure. But in our home, he's just Nikolai. The man who brings me coffee every morning, who learned sign language to communicate with Mia, who holds me through nightmares and whispers promises against my skin. The man who loves me despite or perhaps because of all the broken pieces. I hear him enter the room, his footsteps soft on the hardwood floor. His arms come around me from behind, pulling me back against his chest. What are you thinking about? He asks, his lips brushing my temple. I turn in his arms and pull out my phone, typing. How different my life is now. How a year ago, I was just trying to survive. And now, he prompts when I pause. I finish typing. Now I'm living. His smile is soft, genuine, so different from the cold mask he shows the world. We both are. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small velvet box. My breath catches as he opens it, revealing a ring simple, elegant, a single diamond that catches the last light of the setting sun. Marry me, he says. And it's not quite a question, not quite a command, just a statement of what he wants, what he's hoping I want too. I stare at the ring, at him, at the life he's offering me. It's not a fairy tale. There will be danger, complications, threats we'll have to face together. His world will always be dark at the edges, no matter how much light we bring to it. But he sees me, truly sees me, not the disability, not the trauma, not the broken girl who lost her voice. He sees Arya strong, capable, worthy of love and protection, and partnership. I take the phone and type with shaking fingers. Yes. 1,000 times yes. The smile that breaks across his face is pure joy. He slides the ring onto my finger, then kisses me with a tenderness that makes my eyes sting with happy tears. I don't deserve you, he murmurs against my lips. But I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to. I pull back and type. You saved me. You gave me a life worth living. You deserve everything. We stand there as darkness falls over the city, wrapped in each other's arms, planning a future that once seemed impossible. A year ago, I was humiliated by a cruel woman in a restaurant. Now, that woman is in exile, and I'm wearing a diamond ring, loved by a dangerous man who would move heaven and earth to keep me safe. Life is strange, unpredictable, sometimes terrifying. But with Nikolai's arms around me, his heart beating steady against mine, I've never felt more alive. 2 years later, I stand in a private hospital room, holding a tiny bundle wrapped in soft pink blankets. Sofia Nikolaevna Konstantin, named for Nikolai's mother, born at 3 a.m. after 16 hours of labor. She's perfect. 10 tiny fingers, 10 tiny toes, a shock of dark hair, and eyes that will probably turn the same deep brown as her father's. Nikolai sits beside me on the bed, his arm around my shoulders, staring at our daughter with such wonder on his face that it makes my throat tight. She's so small, he whispers, his finger tracing her tiny hand. So fragile. I lean my head against his shoulder, exhausted but happy. Mia is in the waiting room with Alexei and Victor, already fighting over who gets to hold the baby first. Elena has prepared the nursery, filling it with more stuffed animals and clothes than one baby could possibly need. Our life has become something I never imagined dangerous. Yes, but also full of love and family and fierce protection. Nikolai's phone buzzes with messages, congratulations from his associates, questions about business that can wait, a text from Alexei asking if he can come in yet. He silences it, his attention entirely on Sofia and me. Thank you, he says softly, kissing my temple. For this, for her, for choosing me despite everything. I wish I could tell him with words how much he means to me. How he took a broken woman with no voice and made her feel heard. How he turned my silence into strength. Instead, I type on my phone, one-handed since Sofia is occupying my other arm. You gave me everything. A home, safety, love, a family. This is our happily ever after, Nikolai. The one I never thought I'd have. He reads it, his eyes shining with emotion, and kisses me gently, carefully, mindful of the precious life cradled between us. Not happily ever after, he corrects softly. Happily ever after implies an ending. This is just the beginning. And as I look at him, at our daughter, at the life we've built from danger and darkness and desperate love, I know he's right. This isn't an ending. It's our beginning. Our dangerous, complicated, beautiful beginning. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.